everyone, it's me, Aridosas Rashid. I'm your anthropologist and sociologist. Again, let me check if you can hear me clearly. Let me do that from the start. So let me go to my mobile phone, go to YouTube. One moment. Yeah, the live stream is playing over here, so let me check. Yeah, the live stream is playing. Okay, that's good. You all should be able to hear me clearly. Again, hit the like button, share this live stream, become a member of the channel, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, donate in the links below. If you wish to contribute to the fund of my PhD, write PhD with your donation. And feel free to check my novels on Amazon. And to remember, all of you, I have a lot of novels over here, man. And a lot of them are online too, so please check them out. Okay. Now, again, the topic of today will be hot potatoes. Now, this is a potato. You can see. Show it all around. This one has been this one was harvested. I don't know where, probably from the Netherlands itself, and they cleaned it, put it in a plastic bag, and sold it in a supermarket. And I purchased it. Okay, this is a cold potato. As you can see, I can hold it, no problem for me. If I put, if I boil this potato, it'll become very soft. If I boil with skin, all of it becomes very soft. But then after it's boiled, I'm not supposed to grab it with my hands because it will be smashed. And even then, it will give burn marks on my hands because it's too hot. But let's say now you don't boil the potato, but you just warm it up. You can also bake potatoes. Also, you can also fry them, cut them in a piece and fry them. But okay, let's say now you have a potato that has been baked, but it's not baked throughout, so it's not very soft. It's still very hard, but it's just hot. Grab any potato that's hot and you burn your own hand. Nobody in right mind should do that. Could you hold on to a hot potato for a few seconds? Yes, but even that's not recommended because you're damaging your own hands. Now, just like nobody in the right mind would grab a hot potato, the same way in society, there are certain taboos agreed upon by the public. Those are topics people have collectively agreed. It's not like every individual living there has signed something on paper, but it's something people have collectively agreed on that they don't discuss. Now, some taboos are translated into legislation, but you cannot put every taboo into legislation. For example, in many places in the Western world, it's not done to ask a woman her age. You cannot put in a law, don't ask a woman her age. Because what if the woman is applying for a job and and they look for people between ages 25 and 30? Or what if you consider marrying a woman? Shouldn't you know her age based on your preferences? So the whole idea never ask women her age has to do with a controversial attitude towards women in the Western world that a lot of people don't want to touch on because it's quite uncomfortable. But to put this in legislation is going too far because now how are you going to enforce this? How are you going to prove someone asked a woman her age? How? And even if you could prove it, is it worth to put someone in prison for that and disrupt the whole community? No. The thing is, a taboo is a topic or and sometimes an individual who's blacklisted. So you're not supposed to ever address it. And if you do, you either are attacked by the public, and in often cases the police and the courthouse would kind of side with the perpetrators because even they don't want them to be addressed, even though it's against the law, but it happens. Or can be that you're just shunned. So people just shun you, act like you don't exist, they ostracize you like you don't matter. Now, every culture here on earth has some taboos. I make live streams about taboos before, so you can watch those also. And as an anthropologist, I can tell you, taboos will be here till the day Christ Jesus comes back. So during his lifetime, we will deal with taboos. There will be topics, sometimes people you're not even allowed to mention nor address. Now, how do you recognize a hot potato? Well, I don't recommend you to go out there and try this because you may get into arguments and conflict with people. But a hot potato is a topic that should be mentioned because it's obvious that this topic relates to what goes on when nobody does it. Okay, for example, what if you discuss crime? Let's say there are certain neighborhoods in a city with a lot of crime. Okay, so people say, okay, there's a lot of crime, so hey, send more police officers and build more prisons or red room in other prisons, whatever. Send more police on the streets, arrest these people, convict them, and send them away behind bars. That's a sim- very simple way of thinking about it, but it's not that simple. First of all, you can't just arrest people because you suspect they're doing a crime. There must be actually evidence that maybe they may probably be committing a crime, and then you can arrest them. And even then, you need to prove it, or else anyone could just be arrested. So there is crime in certain neighborhoods. Okay, so a lot of people want to talk about the crime in those neighborhoods. And people say, well, people in those neighborhoods, they're very this, very that. Even mainstream media goes into it. You have experts on TV talking about it. But then there is one individual that asks, okay, we talk about this neighborhood over here. Let's call the neighborhood Brooklyn, for example. Okay, guys, we've been talking about Brooklyn for hours now, about how much crime there is there, this and that. Okay, was Brooklyn not a financial center 20 years ago? And someone would say, yeah, okay, Brooklyn was a financial center 20 years ago with a lot of businesses over there. How is that relevant? Okay. You guys asked me, why is my question relevant? If Brooklyn was a financial center 20 years ago, what happened in 20 years that suddenly became such a ghetto? And people say, well, what does it matter? We're dealing with the problem now. And I say, no, no, no. For us to deal with the problem now, we also need to understand how the problem came into being so that we don't repeat the same thing again. But then individual mentions, back 20 years ago. Now, this is just fictional, okay? I'm not talking about the actual Brooklyn in the state of New York. I'm just using a fictional example. Someone say, but okay, 20 years ago, a lot of migrants moved into Brooklyn. They all started own businesses. But a lot of the locals then moved away. And a lot of the migrants opened their businesses. Now, we cannot force people to stay living in Brooklyn if they don't want to. But how come when suddenly a lot of migrants, foreigners came and started their own business, a lot of people left? And a lot of businesses are closed. So you have a lot of people leaving, business closing, and the businesses that were already there also closed. So you have a lot of poverty that developed. Question: why did all those people leave? And people are saying, what does it matter? What does it matter? And it does matter because if the mass immigration from Brooklyn did not happen, the businesses were already there would have stayed. But now, both the foreigners with their new businesses, as well as the businesses that were there, both left. So the people that were left behind were the people of low income. And with the people of low income being there and they're barely businesses, how are they going to get jobs? So now people are getting uncomfortable because now the individuals pointing out to Donovan, yes, Brooklyn turned into a ghetto, that's true. And now there's a lot of crime coming from that place, also haunting the rest of the city. But hold on a minute. The people that live there and kept things running and they decided to leave, and all those foreigners came in and put in their business, was that not racism? But we're not illegal migrants came in and started business. We're actual people, legal migrants with a visa that came us to open up their businesses. So let me get it straight. The people that lived there 20 years ago could not handle migrants from abroad coming, starting their own businesses. For some reason, they couldn't take this, so they left. And by them all leaving, they actually destroyed the whole neighborhood. So the people of low income, when they were left behind, how many of them tried to start their own business? Yeah, actually, a lot did, but the banks didn't see any profit in it because the neighborhood was running empty. The high incomes were leaving. Okay, so those are people low income. Were they able to move to other neighborhoods? No, because they had low income. So now it becomes obvious. The ghetto that's there today is a result of public neglect and racism. So now that this has come out, it changed the whole topic. Because now they cannot talk anymore about, oh, that neighborhood, Brooklyn over there. Oh my, look how the neighborhood is. The neighborhood's like state and bothering us. Not going to say Brooklyn is the consequence of their collective neglect. They made Brooklyn the ghetto it is. So they cannot look down on those people anymore like they're the problem. But now, if this admitted that it was public neglect towards the people that lived there for the past 20 years, now those same people that live there who don't have criminal records can now demand compensation financially for being neglected. And guess what? A lot of people don't want to admit this because the city doesn't want to pay all those people for how they were neglected. So now they gentrify the neighborhood. Suddenly, they what they do is they increase the price of rent, knowing that a lot of people that live there are low income can't pay the rent, and because people can't pay the rent, and suddenly have to even evict them. And once they evict them, they demolish the buildings and build new buildings and invite new people to live there. They gentrified neighborhoods. And now all those people that live there that were evicted, where are they going? They didn't just all die. So now those low income people who've been evicted are now traumatized also. So now the problem is shifted away to another place. And now we talk about Brooklyn, think, oh, Brooklyn is a high income neighborhood. No, it's a gentrified neighborhood where you kicked out the actual people that live there because you didn't want to admit you filled them. So gentrification itself, in many places, is a hot potato because it highlights the government's attempt to cover up the public's failure. Actually, gentrification is not ethnic cleansing in the sense that you remove everyone from the same ethnicity from a place. But sometimes it can look like ethnic cleansing. For example, let's say you have a neighborhood with a lot of quote unquote African Americans living there. I said quote unquote African Americans is a political term that was invented in the United States. But let's say now you have a lot of quote unquote African Americans living there. And they are of low income. And suddenly a lot of them are big because the rent price are increased. First of all, why they increase the rent price? Why have a lot of people low income living there? What the heck is that? There's an attempt to evict people, and now suddenly they renovate all neighborhoods. Why didn't you renovate the neighborhood while those African Americans were living there? So let me get it straight. You renovate the neighborhoods, and now you better see African Americans around. You see Asians, Europeans, all type of ethnicity except African American. So that could be seen as a type of ethnic cleansing. So the topic of gentrification alone can be a hot potato because it's hiding murderous intent in the population. Because how come the neighborhood could not be renovated on behalf of the African Americans that live there? It's because people had an issue with the African Americans. That's it. They don't want to see African Americans doing well. But by them have African Americans doing worse systematically, hindering them, It also looks bad on them. And now that their crime is coming to the open, now they want to cover it up by kicking out the African Americans, renovating the place, and act like it was always such a good neighborhood. Now, the topic of gentrification is one hot potato. There are many hot potatoes, like abortion, hot potato. Uh, in some place, if human rights are hot potato, think about it. If you have countries who depend for their trade on, let's say, a place like the People's Republic of China, and the People's Republic of China is not that invested in human rights, well, I'm not saying that's the case, but let's say, for example's sake, the People's Republic of China is not that interested in human rights. There's a lot of labor exploitation happening over there. For any country that depends on their trade with the People's Republic of China, or let's forget about country, let's say you have a corporation that relies on mass production in China. That means they rely on labor exploitation. So they're complying with human rights violations. That company or people that work there will never ever mention human rights. Because the moment they mention human rights, people say, well, hold on a minute. You talk about human rights, but aren't you relying on labor exploitation in China for your mass production? So all of you are getting rich, and all of you working here can have your salary because there are people there in China being exploited. Or you have labor exploitation elsewhere. So who are you to talk about human rights? And now it makes everyone uncomfortable. Why? Because not only need to admit this company or this corporation is violating human beings just to take a profit, it also means that everyone that works there actually depends on it. That also makes people uncomfortable. And then also the customers keep buying those products, also keep that company going. So they're also contributing to the violation of human rights. So nobody wants to talk about human rights because now it disrupts the public's ease. Look, what I'm saying is a hot potato is a topic or an individual that people don't want to have discussed. Let's say you have a guy who went to prison, okay, for a so-called rape and murder. 20 years later, it comes out. Or maybe say 10 or 15 years later, more than a decade, it comes out the guy was innocent. Do you think the public wants to address this? That the man spent more than 10 years in prison for a crime he did not commit? Because then the question becomes, hold on a minute, what were his lawyers doing back then? What was the jury doing back then? If not all countries have a jury system, for example, the Netherlands doesn't have that. Tell us, was the jury doing? Or what was the judge doing? What were the police officers doing back then? Did the police mess up their police investigation? So now people have to admit that the criminal justice system or the legal system failed. And the question is, how often did it fail? So now, let's say there have been 25,000 convictions in the past 10 years. And one of them ended up being a wrongfully convicted. How many of those 25,000 are wrongly convicted? So are you going to investigate all 25,000? It's going to take, and let's say you don't investigate 25,000. Let's say you investigate just 100. And from 100, 20 or 30 come up, also being questionable. Now it becomes clear that the criminal justice system doesn't care whether you're innocent or guilty. They just want people behind bars to ease the public. And people don't want this to come up because it's going to make a lot of people uncomfortable. Because everyone living in that society will realize, hold on a minute. So if people are upset, if the public's upset about something, instead of looking for solutions, they just want an outlet. So they can turn anyone into an outlet who can't fight back and use the legal system to arrest them and either put them in a mental asylum or put them in prison. And there are a lot of people complying with it. Then people don't think, wait, but so my family could do this towards me too. Because the people that were wrong convicted, what are their families? Why are they campaigning for them? So wrongly convicts are a hot potato. There are many wrongly convicts who are not released, even though it's proven they're innocent. Why? Because by release them will now mean they need to be paid damages for all the years that they can't get back, and they may have to prosecute some police officers or judges if they're still alive. If that happens, it's a whole rabbit hole that goes open. A rabbit hole symbolic for an issue that people don't wish to address. Yo, call me back later, man. I'm in a live stream. I'll call you back within 10 minutes. Someone called me, so I just decided to tell them call me back. But okay. So understand this. Anytime society fails, and it happens a lot, or anytime the community is neglect or narcissism comes to the light, people want to comfort up. Nobody wants to deal with that. And let me tell you one thing about hot potatoes. The public is very determined to not have to deal with a hot potato. They're either going to full denial, act like nobody knows anything about it. Someone goes missing. It turns to a cold case. Another cold case detectives investigating it, and they think, hold on a minute, how come someone disappears? We used to be a prominent figure in the community, and nobody knows anything. Even if someone was alone that disappears, there's going to be some clues that people know. How come someone who was actually involved in the community disappears and nobody knows anything? Come on, this is suspicious. For example, I dealt with a case from Britain. I believe, yeah, it's from the case of Claudia Lawrence. You can check the case yourself online if you want. She disappeared. The police treating it as a homicide investigation. And the police even admits a lot of people don't want to talk about the case. There were even journalists who were quote unquote threatened or warned not to deal with the case. So the case of Claudia Lawrence is a hot potato because if that case is solved and the truth comes out, it's going to make the public there look bad. That's why a lot of people don't want it to be solved. But I made no live stream about that. And let me tell you one thing. Maybe you are the hot potato because I made a live stream explaining this too. I believe less than 2 months ago, I believe. I made a live stream explain sometimes you become the hot potato. Sometimes you become the controversial topic. Let's say uh, you had some you had someone yeah, you say you had a narcissist doing a smear campaign against you. Okay? And a lot of people sided with the narcissist. The narcissist was saying, well, this guy is lazy, this guy thinks everything was playing the victim. And people, because other people also had their own issues they didn't want to deal with, now, because this narcissist used you as an outlet, they joined the narcissist using as an outlet. They also took offense at you. A lot of people came to dislike you. And then one day it comes out that you had a mental breakdown. You suffered PTSD or whatever. And it becomes clear now that the only way you could break down mentally like that is because you were oppressed. Now, the narcissist who's been bad mouthing you all around, they may be arrested now for slander and all of that. But guess what? How come that narcissist was able to get away with a smear campaign against you for so long? He only got away with it because there were people enabling and joined the narcissist. So now all the people that talk shit about you behind your back together with the narcissist, all of them are guilty and caused a mental breakdown. And everyone's got on the main. So there was a guy or a woman that was mentally ill, and you guys kept attacking the individual. That's quite cowardly. Even evil people think, what the F is this shit? If you want to fight, go against someone who can fight back. So people damage you mentally by how they mistreated you. You had the mental breakdown, and it kept going. It's only when it came out with the mental breakdown that suddenly people turned on the narcissist. So what happened all the other time, the whole time the narcissist was doing his thing, the people were siding with the narcissist. So suddenly mentioning you would reveal, hold on a minute, if this guy or this woman had a mental breakdown and it went for so long, that means a lot of people were in on it. And guess what? They want now someone to blame, saying, "Oh, that's a narcissist been talking shit about you, about Kevin, or about Sandra, or whatever, or about Rashid, or about Jessica. That's a narcissist been talking shit about them. Arrest them for slander." Or now everyone turns against the narcissist and expels them, so they can feel good about themselves. And now you may have a lot of people suddenly becoming extremely kind towards you. Suddenly people become extremely kind towards you. They kind of help you out with everything. Or you want to start your own business? Here's money. Or you want to do this, do that. People become so kind towards you. And now you ask yourself, where was all this kindness a while back when I was going through difficulty and there was a smear campaign against me? Where was the consideration, the empathy, all that towards me then? Let me tell you, you became a hot potato. The fact that people did not intervene and stop the narcissist because it could be done easily. But instead, they join narcissists because they had their own. They also wanted an outlet. Listen, they never want to hear your side of the story. Why not? Because those people also have issues about themselves they don't want to face. So that you became the outlet now gave them opportunity to keep you in a negative daylight so nobody looks at them. So they joined the smear campaign against you. They joined the violence against you. So they're also the perpetrator. But hey, because they don't want this to come out. Because they now put all the blame on the narcissist. But here's the thing: they enable the narcissist. So when their enablement comes out, they will lose a reputation, they will lose all credibility, and it's going to be a lot of consequences for them. There may even marriages may fall apart, families may break up, business may go bankrupt because if a lot of people that work at the company joined a narcissist, a lot of people are not going to trust the company anymore. So it's going to be a lot of uncomfortable consequences. So now people either don't mention you or they become extremely kind towards you. You became the hot potato. Okay? Understand this. Hot potatoes are topics or people that also want to have addressed. Let's say that you have a lot of people walking around with unshaved beards and they complain that there are not enough barbers around. But then you find out that there's a barber with 25 years of experience right there in the neighborhood and he doesn't charge a lot. Question: why a lot of people walking around with unshaved beards or with haircuts with hair out of line, while you have a barber over there with 25 years of experience able to cut everyone's hair and doesn't even charge as much? Why? Because they have an issue with him being qualified to cut their hair, because then they need to give credit to him for cutting their hair or give them a good haircut. And because they have an issue with him having this quality and they have an issue with him earning good money, with having a lot of customers, they boycott him. They tell everyone, don't go near him, don't go near him. So they silently boycott the guy, but then they walk around with their hair chaotic and beards unshaved and keep complaining to get sympathy. Now, if you are not aware that it's a barber over there with his own barber shop with 25 years of experience, with low prices, you're going to think, hold on a minute. Then you may have sympathy with the people. We don't have enough barbers around. But the moment you find out there's a quality barber over there, they're ignoring it, and nobody talks about it. Now you know, okay, these people are playing a game over here. They want sympathy because it's something they're avoiding, and that barber over there was easily the solution to the problem they want to talk about. So there's something with this guy they don't want to deal with. What is it? And let me tell you, if you are the hot potato, others will notice this. Others will notice that, hold on a minute. This guy's on social media. This guy's at many events, conferences. How come on side events we never see him posting together with his friends and family? What goes on over here? Or this woman over here always makes pictures about herself all the time. How come we never see her with pictures with her friends? What's going on over here? Or this guy um, make a lot of money with his business. He's a top entrepreneur. How come he's never invited to those forums to inspire the young people? How come he, who's a top entrepreneur, is never asked about his experience to help other people? What goes on over here? Listen, if you see that someone is a hot potato, I don't recommend you tell them they're a hot potato and explain the whole thing because it may drag you into a bad situation too. But pray for that individual so their eyes are opened, so they can see what goes on and pray for their safety that nobody turns on them and takes them out. And if you have the opportunity to hint towards them that something's off, you may tell them, listen, say, yo, dude, I see you made a lot of money with your businessman. I see you're a successful entrepreneur. It kind of surprised me you're not invited to talk shows, you're not giving interviews. Just tell them that. Yo, you're a great entrepreneur with good experience. How come they don't invite you on talk shows? Just you compliment them at the same time you gave them a hint something's off here. You don't tell them, yo, dude, uh, people are against you, man. They don't like you. People have an issue with you. You're not going to do that. Trick them into seeing what goes on. You don't have to tell them directly what goes on. Just trick them into seeing what goes on. Or you can tell them, yo, Kevin, You made over $2 million with your businessman. You're an excellent entrepreneur. Who is this guy over here in being invited by universities to talk about entrepreneurship, and he has over 5 bankruptcies? This guy has 5 bankruptcies. He didn't even make $100,000 in his life, and you made over $2 million, and they don't invite you. And you can show him a pamphlet or an advertisement where the guy is coming to speak. You're not doing this to trigger jealousy or whatever, but you're actually showing that you shown the individual, hold on a minute, you're the one qualified. This individual is not qualified. How come they give attention to him who's not qualified instead of you that's qualified? But you only do this if you have the opportunity and it's safe to do so. And the individual must be willing to accept the facts also. So pray about it before you intervene, please. Again, I'm not telling you to get involved in a bad situation. But if you can pray for the situation to be resolved, you do that. If you can pray for the target, you do that. And if you have the opportunity given by God to either hint to the individual something's off or to show them what's off, you do that. Okay? Again, use discernment. God is good. Again, let me show you a few things over here. Share screen. What's right here? Hot potato. A controversial question or issue that involves unpleasant or dangerous consequences for everyone dealing with it. For example, he tried to avoid taking a strong stand on political hot potatoes like abortion. Okay. Another thing, New York's biggest competition is Mexico City, which accounts for 8 of Mexico's 14 places on the list. The top 4 spots on the list are passed between the two cities like a hot potato. Okay. Positive government support for independent professionals would be a helpful step, but freelancing remains a political and taxation hot potato will take more time. Okay, let's go over here. Hot potato. A controversial subject that no one wants to talk about. It's one kind of hot potato. A hot potato is an issue that makes everyone feel uncomfortable. Let's read this. Let me make this bigger. The phrase hot potato comes up a lot in politics. For example, a reporter might explain that the candidate won't speak about the controversial topic because it's a political hot potato or an issue that people disagree strongly about. Hot potato comes from the idea that of passing a literal hot baked potato from one person to another. No one wants to be left holding it for very long because it will burn their fingers. Okay, another time, another thing. A hot potato, a subject or problem that's very topical and very and controversial, which most people would rather not have to deal with. Okay, another thing here. For example, did they think that this is a hot potato? Let's leave it alone, and in 10 years, everyone will have forgotten. But anyway, want to close this. It's clear now. Recognize hot potatoes. Why? Because listen what I'm saying here. The public, when there's something they don't want to deal with, but it's in their face and they have to deal with it, there will be narcissists or other toxic people from the public that will go out there on their own initiative to look for someone that they can blame for that situation. Let's say you have a woman who's been neglected by her own family her whole life, and she turns into this this drug addict that's hoeing around, embarrassing everyone, including her own family. You may have that maybe the uncle or a nephew of this woman decides to go out there and look for a partner for this woman. So let's say you have a guy telling you, yo, Ricardo, I know you're single, man. I know this good woman for you, man. Her name is Francine. She's a nice lady. I think she's good for you. So They present her to you, everything goes well, but guess what? They hide her past, they hide her issues from you. So now you end up being involved with this lady, and eventually, after you marry her, because her family was quite supportive of you two being together, but after you marry her, after the wedding, suddenly she changed on you. She suddenly goes wild at you. And now the family stops being so supportive of you. And you think, what the heck happened? Guess what? This woman wanted to hide her issues just to have just to be married. And her family didn't her want their neglect to come out. They didn't want their relative to call them out. So to shut her mouth, they arranged a mate for her. That's you. And that's why they were so supportive of you two being together. Some of them even paid for the whole wedding. And now that you're married to her, the wedding's over. Now you're trapped with her. Not because you married her from a court of law in a church. They cannot say what you said, I do, in better and worse, right? So now, after she marries you, or you marry her, and she goes rogue and falls apart, who will be blamed for it? You. Because people say, well, since you married this guy, things going downwards with her. Even though she was crashing long before you even met her, people are going to say, well, you married her now, it's your responsibility now. And now they'll use that against you, so they're built out, so nobody has to look at them. You see what I mean? So I'm not saying that that's the only way it happens, but it can also be, for example, that um, let's say the education system has been neglected uh, a lot. Suddenly, they have a lack of teachers in high school. So suddenly they love bump everyone who wants to become a teacher. Yo, become a teacher in high school. You earn $3,000, $4,000 a month. So actually, they are so they are so into pampering people they want to become high school teachers. But guess what? Let's say you think, hey, I become a high school teacher, or I can do a career switch and become a high school teacher. And then you find out that half of the high schools are not underfunded. And well, now all these problems come up. But now, because you became a high school teacher and they invest so much in you to say, hey, we invest a lot of tax dollars in you. So we expect you to work as a high school teacher for at least 10 years. And now you're dealing with stress every day for the next 10 years, or you need to pay back because normally you have to pay maybe $30,000 for the bachelor's to become a high school teacher. You only have to pay $2,000. So the government funded other $28,000. So now they tell you if you don't want to work anywhere as a high school teacher, you have to pay back $28,000. And they whoa. The education only costs $2,000. How come I need to pay $28,000 more? And then they tell you, well, it was a government program and this and that, but they didn't tell you this in front. So they tricked you into dealing with the failing education system. So now that the education system is failing more and more, who will be blamed? The new teachers. That's how society does it. You will have narcissists or toxic people pretending, even sometimes they even pretend to be believers, and they go out there to recruit people to end up with the mess they don't want to deal with. That's why some people who divorce narcissists then find out, okay, hold on a minute. How come nobody warned me about this individual? Yes, I noticed red flags. I thought, okay, that's my fault that I didn't give you the red flags. How come nobody warned? How come everyone just praised us like we were the perfect couple? Because the people were in on trapping you with this individual. People didn't want this individual to go around and embarrassing them. So they rather had an individual with you that you have to deal with headache and not them. So when you thought about divorcing your narcissistic ex-husband or your narcissistic ex-wife, a lot of people said, no, you're married individual. God hates divorce. Fight for your marriage. Fight for your marriage. But everyone around knew this individual's bad news. So when you wanted to divorce this individual, she told you, no, you're right, divorce this individual, he's bad news. Why did they push you to stay with that individual? Why did they discourage you from divorcing someone that was bad for you? Let me tell you. They knew all along this individual's bad news. But guess what? Because you were trapped with the bad news, you became the outlet of this individual's bad news. If you divorce the individual is out there again, others are at risk of becoming the target of this toxic individual. So they don't want to have to deal with this toxic individual. They're had shoot trap the toxic individuals, so they're all left alone. That's how they used to treat battered housewives in the past also. If you had a housewife that was abused or beaten by your husband, they will treat you like that. Well, if you divorce the man and you have children with him, who's going to come to stepdad for your children now? Who's going to pay for all of that? Who needs to deal with the children with all the trauma? And if the guy is away from you, he may target another woman. Now we have to deal with that also. Society always takes to pass around their hot potatoes. Nobody wants to stay with hot potato. Recognize hot potatoes. Don't get directly involved. Pray about the situation. And do not ever address the public directly about the neglect unless God calls you to, like I do right now. Or else it is casting pearls for swine and they will turn on you to devour you. I'm telling you. Some people go missing and are killed because they opened their mouth and addressed something that the community was failing at. And because people didn't want to hear how they were failing, they turned that individual and took the individual out. Yes, a lot of people who went missing and were murdered, they opened their mouth and called out some injustice or they called out some neglect of the public, and people in the public couldn't take it. But A, because the individual didn't do anything wrong, they couldn't address it. So behind the scenes, people came to murmur, complain about the individual, and eventually led to people wanting the individual out. And some people were brave enough, so-called brave enough, to do the dirty job. An individual goes missing, it becomes a cold case, later the body is found, and people cry crocodile tears at the funeral. This often goes to society, so watch out. All right? Well, that's it for now. I don't see anyone asking any questions. Thank you all for being here. Give a cream in Christ. I go outside now, it's warm weather. And again, if you are the hot potato, watch my other live streams. I've given instruction how to deal with such situation. If you're the hot potato, watch out because you're in danger. So act wisely to overcome the danger and get out in time. Well, that's it for now. Keep in agreement with Christ and be at peace. Shalom.